Hello, everybody. We are back at it and done with the heart unit, done with the pig dissection, and the last thing we have to do is the nervous system. So you're going to need your piece of paper that came in your packet that was mailed home a little while ago. The only one that you'll need out of the packet for today is this sheet. And then we will also draw our own notes on one piece of paper. So you will take this out, just kind of sit it to the side. We'll come back to that shortly. And then we are going to draw notes first on the intro to the nervous system. And what you're going to end up with is a flow chart. And I'm going to try to make it fit on one piece of paper, but this is kind of what it's going to look like in the end. So if you will make sure you space it out, we're going to start up here at the top and then work our way down. So the next unit is all about the nervous system, and we're just going to do a lot of notes on one sheet so that everything is in one spot. But the nervous system is composed of your brain, your spinal cord, and your nerves. And the overall function of the nervous system is to detect changes in the environment, whether that is an internal or external environment. Evaluate the information. And initiate a response. Okay, so as part of the nervous system, whether it's the brain, the spinal cord, or the nerves, you're able to, based on the structure of the tissue that we'll look at tomorrow, you are able to detect a change, evaluate it, and then do something about it, all within one tissue. And that's unique to the nervous system. No other system can do that. And really, the other systems of the body are reliant on this nervous system to initiate that response. When we've done reflex arcs in the past and reflex behavior and even homeostatic balances, we've always said that a stimulus was detected by a receptor. And that detection is here. Okay, we are picking up some kind of stimulus with a receptor. We're sending an afferent message to the brain or spinal cord. Here we are again, which then sends an efferent message to an effector. So that is the evaluating information part and initiating a response by sending that efferent message to an effector. There are two main branches to the nervous system. One is the central nervous system. And that's really just your brain and your spinal cord. So this consists of the brain and the spinal cord. Just two anatomical divisions and separations of the nervous system. And then we've got the peripheral nervous system. Okay, and the peripheral nervous system is not your brain or spinal cord, and the only other part in the nervous system is nerves. And so it is going to be composed of or consist of cranial nerves and spinal nerves. And the difference between those are that the cranial nerves branch off of the base of the brain, and spinal nerves come off of the spinal cord. And we'll look at that a little bit more as we move throughout the unit. Now, we're going to split this peripheral nervous system up a few times. This is all we're going to do with the central nervous system, only composed of your brain and spinal cord, and we're going to leave that to the side for now. We're going to come back to the brain and spinal cord structure later next week. But we're going to focus on the peripheral nervous system, and we're going to split that peripheral nervous system up into two functional classifications. So my first branch here, and I'm going to pull this one over quite a bit because we're going to work with it coming down. The first functional classification of the peripheral nervous system is the motor division. And this motor division can also be called the efferent division. We're already familiar with the word efferent. Okay, efferent is on the other side, the far end of the reflex arc. It is on the effector side, how we're sending a message to the effector, whether that be a muscle or a gland. The other functional classification is just going to be kind of small right here. Turn my paper to the side and write functional classification again. Is not the efferent or efferent, it is the other efferent, okay, which is the afferent division. We're going to write sensory division or afferent. Okay, remember that sensory side of the arc is going to bring impulses from the receptors to the central nervous system. Once we get in the central nervous system, we will move to this side where we are bringing impulses from the central nervous system to effectors. So let's write this in, that the sensory division is going to bring impulses from receptors. Can you say hello? Bring impulses from the receptors to the central nervous system. And I'm going to abbreviate that as CNS, and you'll see that a lot. The opposite functional classification for this sensory or afferent division is the motor or efferent division. And it is going to bring impulses from the central nervous system to effectors. And the only two effectors in the body that we've talked about are muscles and glands. Okay. All right, now the next thing we'll do is split this motor division up into two parts. And the way to split this up is, since this is the efferent side of things, since this is talking to or telling, controlling, initiating a response to muscles and glands, we're going to control those in a couple different ways. And the first way we're going to do that is through the autonomic division. And the second way we're going to do this, I don't like the way that looks. Okay. The second way we're going to do that is through the somatic division. Okay, and we'll work with the somatic division first. This, or these two branches of the efferent division of the peripheral nervous system, which is consisting of your cranial and spinal nerves, is going to, I forgot what I said. Let me do this again. This division, since it is on the efferent side of things, is going to control muscles and glands in a couple of different ways. This division coming off of the efferent division of the peripheral nervous system is all about innervation. It's all about control. How are these effectors being controlled? And the name for control in the nervous system is innervation. One part of that is the somatic division. The stem soma means body. And I kind of think about body as being the muscles of the body. And we'll look at soma again tomorrow. But the somatic division of the motor division of the peripheral nervous system, you kind of always have to follow your flow chart up, is going to bring impulses to skeletal muscles. Okay, this is going to control your skeletal muscles, your muscle man muscles, your bicep, ab muscles, mouth muscles as I'm talking. Therefore, they are under voluntary control. You control their action. I control blinking. I control the motion of my mouth. I control, any kind of somatic muscle movement. The opposite of that is going to be the autonomic division. I think autonomic sounds like automatic. These are automatic controls within your body. We do not think about them. We don't have to tell ourselves to control the action of the autonomic division. Therefore, they're not bringing impulses to skeletal muscles. They are bringing impulses to the others, which are smooth muscles, cardiac muscles. Okay, that checks the muscle boxes. Now, the only other effector in the body that we have to include are glands. They are not under voluntary control, but they are under involuntary control. We don't control the activity of smooth muscles. Smooth muscles are found in hollow organs, like your stomach or your blood vessels. I don't control vasoconstriction and vasodilation to control overall blood pressure, or I don't control the churning of my stomach. I don't control my heartbeat. Therefore, it is autonomic versus somatic. You can then split this autonomic division up twice based on two opposing divisions, which are the sympathetic division and the parasympathetic division. Most people think of the sympathetic division, or you may have even heard this before, as your fight or flight response. And the parasympathetic is rest and repair. Some people say rest and digest. Okay, these two divisions are going to work in opposites to control smooth muscles, cardiac muscles, and glands within your body. Somatic division is going to control skeletal muscles, which are voluntary. Okay, what we're going to do now is take out that piece of paper from your packet and look at what does the sympathetic division do to my heart rate? What does the parasympathetic division do to my heart rate? Are we increasing? Are we decreasing? Are we contracting? Are we relaxing? Are we vasoconstricting? Vasodilating? Okay, that's kind of how they'll work. They always do opposite actions of each other. So let me flip over. Again, you're going to need this sheet out of your packet. And let me move out of here. Okay. So what you see here is the same thing that you have on your paper. And I have just added in at the top that the parasympathetic division of the autonomic nervous system of the motor division of the peripheral nervous system. You feel like you just keep going but the parasympathetic division is all about rest and digest, or rest and repair, whereas the sympathetic nervous system is all about fight or flight. So we're going to start with pupil movement, pupillary action. And in rest and repair, you are going to, or in the parasympathetic division, you are going to constrict the pupil, meaning that the pupil is going to get smaller, versus the sympathetic division where you will dilate the pupil and the pupil will get larger. Zoom in just a little bit. Okay, if you shine a light in someone's eye, their pupil is going to constrict and get as small as it can. If you walk into a dark room, then the pupil will dilate and get much larger because you're trying to get as much light into the eye as possible. Okay, the second one is all about salivary glands. And in parasympathetic, if you keep in mind that we're thinking about digestion, then you would want the stimulation of the flow of saliva. You would want to have salivary glands producing saliva to help break down sugars, to make that salivary amylase and push it into your mouth. Whereas the sympathetic division, you will have an inhibition, you will have a stopping, you will have a decreased flow of saliva. Dry mouth can sometimes come with sympathetic nervous system responses. Heartbeat, rest and repair, you would want to slow the heartbeat, whereas in fight or flight, get nervous, scared, you would accelerate the heartbeat. And this comes with just normal maintenance as well. When we looked at the homeostasis of blood pressure, we talked about, green light, red light, gas pedal, brake pedal. That has to do with this as well, okay? It's not just when we're asleep and when we're scared. If you're slowing the heartbeat, the parasympathetic division is activated. If you are accelerating the heartbeat, speeding it up, then sympathetic is. There's never just this coasting that happens. Lungs, we will constrict bronchi or dilate bronchi. Okay, bronchi are the branchings of the trachea, which will end in air sacs of the lungs. If you constrict the bronchi, then you are not taking in as much air as dilating the bronchi, taking big, deep breaths to oxygenate. Rest and repair, parasympathetic division will, of course, stimulate peristalsis and secretion of any of the digestive juices from the stomach, from small intestine, from pancreas, from the liver. So this is all about digestion. Remember that peristalsis is the squeezing and the movement, propulsion of food throughout the digestive system. When sympathetic division is activated and encouraged, you don't digest at all. Okay, you just kind of inhibit and stop peristalsis and secretion of digestive enzymes. In conjunction with that, you would also stimulate the release of bile from the gallbladder, and the opposite, you would convert glycogen to glucose. So the storage form of glucose in your liver, and remember glucose is the sugar that our body uses to make ATP, is glycogen. When we need excess glucose and we don't have enough, we will go to the liver and convert glycogen over into glucose to bring blood sugar levels back up. There's one added in here on this side. When a fight or flight response is stimulated or is happening in the body, you will secrete adrenaline and noradrenaline. You've heard of people being scared or in traumatic situations and doing all of these superhuman things, and that is due to a surge of adrenaline into their system. And then the last one is about the bladder. Under parasympathetic division, the bladder will contract, meaning that you will urinate. And during the sympathetic division, or under the sympathetic division, you would inhibit bladder contraction. You would inhibit the release of urine, and this would be during bladder filling. And when the bladder is filling with urine, and then when you get the signal that you need to go to the bathroom, the parasympathetic division kicks in. You contract that bladder. There's a couple of sphincter muscles that will release, and you will go to the restroom. Okay, so that gets us through the first part of the nervous system. Today's all about organization and branchings of it, and then tomorrow we'll get into the tissue of the nervous system, so we can start building nerves, and we can start building the brain, and we can start figuring out how does it actually work instead of just organization. All right, hope everybody has a great day.